eyes are on Las Vegas still. Wizards off today, but back at it tomorrow. They will not, I repeat, they will not see Victor Wembanyama tomorrow, which is what I told everyone would happen. Call it educated based off past precedent in terms of a guess. No way that a guy that good, Victor Wembanyama, was going to go through and do the entirety of Summer League. And sure enough, he had one game Friday that was not great. Showed flashes, and then he was incredible in game two. A little bit more back in shape. He'd taken like a month off to do all the draft stuff and not been working out with the same consistency. And lo and behold, you get a couple of practices in, get your sea legs back underneath you, and drop 27 and shoot 60% from the field, and that's enough for Pop and company. All good, thanks. Signed off. So Wembanyama this afternoon shut down for the Spurs for the rest of Summer League. But for the Wizards front, I think it's been a very interesting to watch how they've treated this Summer League, who's played, who hasn't, and how they've played. To start, I think it was smart to get Xavier Cooks a game. And I'm only going with Cooks first because he was shut down. You get Cooks a game, you get him out there. And there's this point where it's Quentin Jackson, Xavier Cooks, Patrick Baldwin, Bilal Coulibaly, and Johnny Davis. And I went, holy crap. This is on Friday's game, Friday's game. I just go, or Saturday. So it was Saturday. And I go, holy crap. This lineup could play on the floor for the Wizards this year. I don't know how often that happens in Summer League, that a team's actual lineup is on the floor. Most teams don't have that many guys that are going to play real minutes for them. And it's very possible that lineup sees 0 minutes in the regular season, certainly 0 meaningful minutes, but it's also not impossible either. I tend to think that Jordan Poole or Kyle Kuzma will most certainly be on the floor at most times, one or the other, if not both. Daniel Gaffer, Denny Avdia, these are not your starters by any means. But if a game gets out of hand, or Wes Unseld has one of those moments where you bench all the starters to send a message, that group could come in and play. And all of those guys could play actual minutes this year for Washington. But Cooks gets, is a guy who's played some high-level basketball. He's the MVP of the Australian League last year. Comes over late in the season, is jet-lagged the entire time before it finally ends. Getting him a game with some guys that he might be on the floor with, I think, is ultimately a good thing. But he is more experienced, so you shut him down. And once he's gone, it really is on... Davis is the guy who's out there with some experience to show what he is. And, I think people are starting to adjust their expectations of what Johnny is and what he isn't. He is a guy that just being out there in Summer League, not someone who is an extraordinary offensive player, is getting you 15 to 18 points. And that's not nothing for a guy who's going to get his points in many of the same ways. Limited pick and roll actions, being smart as a cutter and as a slasher. He obviously has been running more isolation and more pick and rolls than he will when Poole and Kuzma are out there. But he looks comfortable in those situations. He looks smart. And I think the biggest thing that's different than last year is his comfort and his confidence. I mean, he's been great defensively, and that's kind of what you expected. But he just looks big. And that's something about Summer League that I think is always somewhere between interesting and hilarious. Is you all of a sudden see who's an adult and who's not, who's been in an NBA weight room for a year and who is coming out of college. And, college weight situations are much better than they used to be, but there's only so much you can do during a year with a basketball player who doesn't do anything but play for most of the year and ultimately is out of your control by the time that March ends. If you're a strength coach in college, it's different than the football guys who live in the weight room all the time. But you see Davis and how much bigger he is than he was last year. The scrawniness is gone. He's got some muscle to him, and he looks like he's got an NBA body. And you see also how that plays out with the strength and the size that he has defensively, where he just cuts guys off cold. He has the foot speed and the anticipation, but he also has the body to just be in the way, where he just flat out cuts a guy off, and you're like, whoa, that's cool. I'm excited for that. When was the last time they had a guy who could do that here? Because recently it's been Denny Avdia who's getting the assignments of the best opposing wing player, and If all of a sudden Davis gets those assignments and crushes them, and Avi is on your second best wing guy, like now you're looking at a team that might not be so poor defensively like I thought they were going to be going into the season, based off the fact that Jordan Poole was something less than a 0 defensively last year. He was so bad. God, he was awful defensively last year. And Kuzma's fine. Like, he's big and he rebounds, and he tries, but he's not an exceptional individual defender. And Gafford can block shots because he's long, he's tall, he's athletic, and he likes to live around the rim. But he's not exactly like a super switchable or excellent shot blocker. He's just kind of like good at both, while also making some assignment level mistakes that certainly prevent him from being an elite rim protector. So all that round and round to say, like, if Johnny is going to be a starter because he's that good defensively and someone who can elevate and still score, let's say this year it's 14, but next year it's 18 points a game, like, that is someone that's worthy of a top 10 pick. And I think it's different than what we think because we want a guy who's scoring 25 a game. But 18, if you're 18-5, like 18 points, 5 assists, and borderline all defensive team NBA, that's a successful draft pick. Like, the number of guys who bust out and who are 18-5 and mediocre defenders that are top 10 picks is a very long list. If he can genuinely be an elite level defender or even just below that, like, great, fine. Did Tommy sell him as something else? Yeah, but I think that's what he's going to be. And what I saw late in the year last year and what I've seen so far in Summer League track all in the same rail, if you will, of this guy who's got a pretty elevated basketball IQ, who's calm, who's gaining confidence, and will continue to grow over the next couple of years and get better. We saw the growth in year 1 to 2 at Wisconsin. What does he do with year 1 to 2 in the NBA, but also things that he never got at Wisconsin, a year 2 to year 3 and a year 3 to year 4? That is the question I have for Johnny Davis. And then there's Bilal Coulibaly. Whoa. That kid, athletically, when someone stands out on an NBA Summer League court, I was talking about this with my wife when we were watching some Summer League stuff over the weekend. I always love watching Summer League because it's just athletes everywhere. There is some of the bounciest guys who won't make the league, but are even sniffing it because of their athleticism. They're so raw that as basketball players that they're not going to make the NBA, maybe ever, but certainly not this year. They're G League guys or they're European guys that, maybe they eventually make a roster, but probably are more destined for a career in Europe or the G League than they are in the NBA. But athletically, they're elite. And so you have these guys that are just super bouncy all over the court. And amongst those guys and the super elite guys who are going to be in the NBA, there is Bilal Coulibaly in the top 1% of all of them. The shot block he had on Saturday at the top of the square for a guy who's 6'8" is nuts. That is the timing, the athleticism, and the ease with which he timed that thing up. You're just like, oh, you have instincts. You have feel. This is good. We like this. Offensively, he's got a long way to go. The good news is he's not going to be asked to do a lot offensively this year. Be active. Continue to work on your three-point shot, catch and shoot wise. Jordan's going to be the initiator. Kispert will have a lot of stuff run for him. Kyle will get his, as he should, and get the looks, whether it's isolations, pick and rolls, post-ups, etc. But Coulibaly, man, you see the flashes already. You see the defensive instincts. And if this team wants to be the best version of itself, it's going to involve Davis and Coulibaly on the defensive end, turning them from what I thought would be a very, very bad defensive team into one that is in the top half of the league because both those guys are top flight. And if that's the case, this team's going to be better than I think people realize. I still think that it's hard to get, like, they've got a lot of one-way guys. They don't have a lot of two-way, like excellent two-way players. It's what you're hoping Davis can turn into. It's what you hope Coulibaly can turn into. And in a way, you're hoping Poole can turn into, right? He's got the offense down. How much better can he get defensively? But right now, it does feel like you're picking offense or defense, and the best teams don't have to. They just play both. But that's kind of, to me, where we are after a weekend of Wizards Summer League. And we'll obviously see when they take the floor again tomorrow night how they look for the rest. I will also say you will hear from Kuzma and Poole later in the show. And I would be remiss if I did not say that Rollins and Baldwin look like a lot more than afterthoughts in that Jordan Poole deal. And there is a chance that every single person that yapped at the Wizards for trading Bradley Beal for nothing, even though that was never true, are going to look extra mega dumb when they really traded him for Jordan Poole, Patrick Baldwin, a 6'10 guy who can shoot it and handle a little bit and seems to have a great maturity about him, and Rollins, who might be a bench player. And it obviously will depend on what Poole is, but and if any of the draft picks are in anything. But whew, that return looks better by the day. Of course, it's Summer League, so we don't want to get too excited about it. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Outside of Wembanyama this weekend, the biggest league-wide news was that the NBA finally announced its in-season tournament. And I have a minority opinion on it. I will tell you that opinion next on the Hoffman Show, Team 980, always live on the free Odyssey app and streaming live on YouTube.
Hey, this is DA, and you're listening to the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.